Still going on about that?
You can't keep getting away with it! You can't keep getting away with it!
He won't.
Morning everybody, how you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. There's Bugsy Malone. I am Sean Butler. This is your Monday morning catch-up on Tottenham walks. Still feeling quite fooey, I can't really shake it. I hope I'm okay. I hope you guys are all okay. I hope everybody's okay. Please do me a favour though guys, smash the like button for me on the video if you haven't already. I really appreciate it. Smash the subscribe on the channel if you haven't already. I really appreciate that too. Hit the notification bell and drop a comment. Let me know your thoughts on today's topic. And look, I'm not going to go through a whole match review because yesterday was the day to probably do that. But you know, I think most Tottenham fans will be looking forward now and looking at the table with some optimism, some excitement, looking at the reality of the fact that we've played 7 league games, undefeated, 3 of them against traditional top 6, 2 wins in that regard. It's an incredible start to the season for Tottenham, something that I don't think anybody in the Tottenham camp would have imagined was going to happen, not this quickly. But of course, every game at the moment is mired with controversy or controversy, depending on how you want to say the word. And that's kind of where I want to start this ramble. It's with VAR. Like, I mean, every single game it is a talking point. Every single one. I've been saying for the longest time, for over a year, I personally don't think that VAR is fit for purpose. And I know the argument that it's not the VAR that is the problem, it's not the technology that's the problem, it's the people that are enforcing it. And that is true. Technology should be used as a tool to improve efficiencies, to find truth when human error can often miss it. But it all depends on how it's utilised. And to me, VAR is a system that is not used for the betterment of the game. It's not used to protect the integrity of a football match, to make sure that the right decisions are happening more frequently. It's used as a tool to protect the referees that are on the pitch and to cuddle them, surround them with a layer that shields them from too much criticism, or at least that's the way that I think that the people who are in charge of the system are using it, even though it's got to the point now where the errors and the inconsistencies are so prevalent, so ridiculously frequent, that you have to start to question whether or not VAR is fit for purpose. And I think that for me the problem starts with the intention behind its use. I saw someone on Twitter yesterday saying it very succinctly, and he summed it up quite well, where he said, if the referee makes a decision on the pitch that could go either way, because the standard for VAR with regards overruling refereeing decisions is there a clear and obvious error, then if a ref gives a 50-50 one way, then the VAR can see the logic behind the decision and not overrule it. But on another week, on another game, on the same weekend, a different referee or the same referee could make an entirely different decision on a very similar incident, and the VAR could sit there and say, well, I can see the logic for why you gave that decision, therefore it's not a clear and obvious error. And that in and of itself leads to inconsistencies. Inconsistencies with the ball over the top, with the red cards, the one that happened for the Liverpool player, that was Curtis Jones. Look, the argument from the professionals is it's not a red card because there was no intention to harm, even though intention to harm does not come into the rules at all with regard to tackle. A dangerous tackle can still be dangerous without intention. So I don't really see the consistency in the process there. But what I do see is all professional footballers, all of them say There are circumstances where you go in and your foot happens to ride over the ball. That's just the physics. And it comes down on the player's shin. And it looks nasty, but it shouldn't be a red card. It could be a yellow card, but it shouldn't be a red card. And to me, that's fine. But when you've already had a series of precedents being set this season, last season, seemingly like once every month right now, where those things do result in red cards, you can't then decide that it's not a red card this time if it's been a red card before. Consistency is the key. Make a rule, stick to it from now on. The same with handballs in the penalty area. If it's either a handball or it's not, it should be consistently applied. We've seen with Romero twice this season. One of them was given against Arsenal, one of them wasn't against Manchester United. All of these areas, like grey areas, that are left up to the interpretation of the referee, the VAR can then defend the referee by saying, well, there was a logic to the thought process and therefore the decision, therefore it's not a clear and obvious error. And to me, that means that you've got one person on the pitch and 6 or 7 people in a room that are all using subjectivity to confirm or otherwise a decision. And if that's the case, then the VAR is worthless. It's worthless because you're always going to be left with a situation where someone can point to a previous week where the opposite decision was justified. And it's infuriating. I would rather go back to a point where you just engage with human error, where it's a part of the game, as Ange said, but at least you have someone on the pitch who you can point to and say, he's responsible for this. He's responsible. It was him that made the decision. He got it right or he got it wrong. I think the VAR in its current form, its current guise, delays the game. It never allows you to celebrate a goal properly. And it gets as many wrong, or there's always a talking point. And referees should not be the main focus of every single game of football. And it seemingly right now is. Every single game there is some sort of talking point that takes up far too much of the post-match analysis. And if that is the circumstances that we find ourselves in, then let me know in the comments if you think that that is something that we should be forced to indulge with, to engage with. I don't think we should. I just don't see the value versus the cost versus the benefits lands to me on a net negative. Keep it for goal line technology. You know, you'd hope that you can keep it for offsides, but I know that Liverpool fans feel like they're the biggest, most injustice, example ever, but they're not. Tottenham had one where we were flagged offside in our own half back in the day with Vertonghen. That was unbelievable. Every team's got examples of injustices. Liverpool seem to forget that they have benefited by far. There's an article, I'll see if I can find it, the Daily Mail article from February of this year, that stacks the teams who have benefited the most versus benefited the least from VAR decisions, and Liverpool are top of that league. And that's not to say that they benefited from bad VAR decisions. They benefited from VAR decisions more than any other team. But if we're seeing that the VAR decisions are controversial as often as they are, then without knowing the specifics, you can also make the assumption that at least some of the decisions that Liverpool benefited from more than any others were also 50-50s that could have or should have gone a different direction. On that point, by the way, to see Liverpool fans and neutral fans suggest that Liverpool were robbed of 1 point, at least 1 point, or possibly, probably 3, that to me is the most illogical, irrational argument that there is. Because all they were robbed of was 1 goal. They were robbed of the goal. It's a disgrace. They shouldn't have had to face it. In the stands, we didn't know what was going on. We see the goal, we see the offside, we see the VAR takes 3 seconds to confirm it. So we're thinking clear offside, especially from behind the goal where I sit, couldn't see it. So when I was giving my post-match thoughts, I had no idea that what had happened or what was transpiring. But a lot of fans are saying because of that, Liverpool, if it hadn't been for that happening, Liverpool would have got all 3 points, but at least 1. How can you possibly know that? If that goal goes in, Liverpool go 1-0 up, but they're still against 10 men. That's an entirely new game, an entirely new reality, an entirely new timeline. So there's no guarantee that that game wouldn't have finished 4-0 to Liverpool, but it could have finished 6-1 to Tottenham. It's an entirely new game with, what would it have been, 60 minutes on the clock left. And let's be honest, Tottenham were playing better when we had 11 men, and certainly when we had 10 men than we were when we played 9 men, because Liverpool parked the bus, and they're a very, very effective team with brilliant, strong, tall, tough defenders and a fantastic goalkeeper, who, by the way, got the man of the match. Alisson. So this narrative that Liverpool were robbed of 3 points or robbed of a point is bonkers. They were robbed of a goal. But there's been plenty of teams that have been robbed of a goal. But it only seems to matter when it affects one of the big boys. And Liverpool's statement coming out saying that they acknowledge the apology, but they're going to examine all options. I mean, come on, get over it. Like they're acting like they're the only team that this has happened to. And because of this narrative that people seem to accept that had it not been for the referees, Liverpool would have won the game, they therefore think that they had 3 points stolen from them, and that in the past Liverpool lost the league by 1 point, therefore this is a potential title deciding issue. Therefore Liverpool have every right to examine all options. I don't even know what that means. I land where Gary Neville does when I say that that is a mistake, personally. I think that VAR is a disgrace. I'm not sitting here defending VAR. I think it's an absolute disaster. I think Tottenham have been the victims of poor VAR as much or as little as most other teams. But people only ever remember the times when they're affected by it negatively. They're very often likely to forget the times that when they have benefited from it. But that's just the way it goes. That's just natural human nature, to always try to feel like you've been a victim more than a beneficiary. To me, Liverpool thinking that they're examining all options, I don't know what that means. If they mean suing the referees thing, have at it, I don't care, do what you want. But if they mean that they want a replay, and there's a big movement started, people are signing petitions on Twitter to take it to they're signing a petition which, if it gets enough votes, 50,000 or something votes, it has to be discussed legally, it has to be discussed in Parliament. some crazy rule like that. I mean, I don't know what Liverpool fans think is going to happen, but like the idea that Tottenham haven't done anything wrong, Tottenham just played the game, and I think that, you know, we didn't play well enough against 9 men. We run out of creative ideas. We're obviously facing our own kind of mini, I won't say injury crisis, but maybe exhaustion crisis, I'm not sure, with our creative players. But look, we got the job done. But again, once again, you know, you feel dirty to celebrate it. I don't personally. I'm absolutely loving drinking the tears of salty Liverpool fans, because I think the Liverpool fans are head and shoulders the worst fans in the league. I think they are insufferable in my mind. I've got a lot of Liverpool fans that are friends. I love them to pieces, but they drive me up the wall with their ridiculous red shades that they wear on everything, and yet think that they're being objective. There's a row in the background. To me, guys, look, it is what it is. I want us to move on, look forward to Luton. But any notion of some sort of consequences for Tottenham didn't do anything wrong. And you just know that there's, because of the noise around this, because of the furore, because of the way Liverpool are treating it like they're the first team that's ever been a victim of a bad VAR decision, that there'll be some sort of intentional karma the next time Tottenham have a bad one, whether it's against Liverpool or not. And don't forget, of course, Liverpool were the beneficiary in our previous fixture, 3-3, when we lost 4-3. Jota, he shouldn't have been on the pitch that game for that high boot against Ollie Skip. So maybe what happened the other day was levelling out the inaccuracies or the balance of karma for that one. Who knows? But you just know that the referees are going to go out of their way to not give something to Tottenham as some sort of consequence. Because even though we did nothing wrong, that is the way that in which they'll find some sort of justice And that's what worries me. There will be a decision that will happen, whether it's against Luton or Fulham or Palace or Wolves, the next 4 games we've got. Something will happen and we won't get the rub of the green. We won't get the fair decision because of what happened yesterday, on Saturday. And again, that is another reason why I feel like VAR is not fit for purpose. Because if the VAR are still left up, if they are still using subjective interpretation, then they're not doing their job. The lines in the sand may need to move around what is and isn't a decision. They may need to be more clear and leave less room for interpretation around certain things. But then it shouldn't be about defending a clear and obvious error or otherwise, where you can protect the referee. It should just be around a decision. Did you miss this on the pitch? Did the guy go through over the top of the ball? Did it hit the ball first? And if so, it's not a foul, no matter what, no matter how aggressive or intentional it was. If that's where they want to go with it, then make that line in the sand. And if there was any contact on the ball before the tackle happened, then it's overturned. It's not a foul, it's not a yellow, it's not a red, whatever. Like, just make a clear definition that everyone can stick to, where the video can see what happened clearly and then decide objectively whether or not there's a mistake. Remove the interpretation from the VAR and just leave it up to fact. And you might need, like I say, you might need to move some lines in the sand regarding handballs. It doesn't matter, if it hits your hand in the area, it's a penalty, unless it's a deflection. Whatever, just make the line very clear, and some will be given, some won't. Or sorry, some will be given which look incredibly unfair, and others will look reasonable. But as long as there's a clear line, the technology can then determine whether something happened or didn't. But this system of 6 or 7 men in a room subjectively figuring out whether or not the referee made it clear and obvious, it's ridiculous. And when you add in all the other poor points of VAR, like the delays to the game, the inability to celebrate, the lack of communication, the lack of audible or visual understanding of what their conversation is, all of these things are leaving the situation where everybody talks about VAR every week and always someone is feeling miserable about it. For me, it's stupid and needs a complete overhaul, or the game will all forever be spoilt by referees. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Like, subscribe and comment, and as always, bye bye.